And welcome back to the Sports Source. We got 30 more minutes to go on this show. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. All the wet weather we've been getting has been driving critters to places they shouldn't be, like your attic, your basement, crawl spaces. So if you find a furry, feathered, or scaly friend in your home or your office somewhere, call the Wildlife Division of Southeast Termite and Pest Control. They can come catch and remove any critters that might have found their way into places they shouldn't be in your home. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, they've been doing it for a long, long time. Think of them not only for pest control, but also wildlife. Their wildlife division does a great job. All right, let's take a look at the week ahead for the Tennessee basketball team. On Tuesday, as I mentioned earlier, Vanderbilt comes to town. The Commodores, they got blown out last night. They're 1-11 in the SEC. They've lost like 27 of 28 games, and the one win was over LSU, the best team in the league, of course. Makes a lot of sense. Then you've got Saturday, noon, at Auburn. Tennessee drew Auburn twice this year, so it's going to be Barnes versus Pearl a couple of times. And they lost to Conzo Martin last night. Conzo has to enjoy it anytime he can beat Bruce Pearl. Let me ask you, Mark, very quickly, matchups. We've seen Vanderbilt once. Just your thought on the Commodores and your thoughts on what fans need to know about this Auburn team, which has a gaudy record, but the schedule they've played, not that great.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, we were able to win that game. Only shot 8 3-pointers, really attacked the paint, turned them over, took advantage of their youthful point guard in Pippen Jr. So again, to what we were talking about, why we weren't as successful over South Carolina, we didn't attack that paint like Arkansas. We didn't force turnovers, and that Vanderbilt team is one that we can do that against. We've got to be the aggressor. Against Auburn, they lost yesterday versus Missouri. Their best player is a freshman, last name's Ochura. A first-round lottery pick, most likely, was out with an injury, will probably be back. But Auburn can beat you at different levels with guard play and with Austin Wiley's development in the interior. He'll be tough to handle. And Auburn is a really good team, obviously, that if Tennessee does not take care of the basketball, like we saw in Pearl's Days years, against the press, against under out-of-bounds plays, if we turn the ball over like we did versus South Carolina, we will get run out of that gym.
Okay. Let me ask you guys, I think most of the fan base here understands that this was going to be a rebuilding year. I think they understand that, okay, now you've lost Turner. So you've got these extenuating circumstances. Still, you had some people who were starting to get ugly a few weeks ago. Then Tennessee brings in a top 10 recruiting class. Everybody starts talking about football. There hadn't been as much heat over these losses of late in terms of just what I've noticed in the ether. If you lose to Bruce Pearl, is that going to bring a lot of this angriness back? Because I think we all know there's a love affair for Bruce Pearl with a certain part of this fan base that will never let that go. This is not a great matchup for Rick Barnes, I don't think. Do you guys agree that if you lose to Bruce Pearl, some of the anger that's been on hold here comes back?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a complicated relationship between this fan base and Bruce, and always will be, and certainly for the 48 hours or whatever surrounding this game, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. Well, boy, I wish we'd never lost Bruce. Good old Bruce. Look what he's done at Auburn.
Is it fair to Barnes?
I don't know if it's necessarily fair or unfair. I think it's warranted on either direction. I think the thing that makes it more challenging is people really love Rick Barnes too. It's not like Rick Barnes has not been successful. They're number one team in the country, so he's done really well. Fits in with this community. But Auburn, they've done a better job of recruiting. And you look at the depth of that roster. Yes, we've got a good recruiting class in. I couldn't tell you how many misses they've had or not had on Auburn's roster, but Tennessee just had more. They've had some guys on Auburn's roster that leapt up to the NBA ranks that weren't anticipated, just like Tennessee did. But Auburn has done a better job of filling that with better talent behind, where Tennessee's not done that.
Yes, interesting. Whenever I see Pearl and Auburn recruiting well, very interesting. That Auburn always seems to recruit well. I wonder why that is, football and basketball. Very interesting. Just not like they've been on probation more than any other SEC program. They have. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about experimental rules. We still got football to talk about a little bit later, but we're going to talk football and basketball. I got a good question for you, Mr. Basketball Coach. We're going to talk about different rules and what if they came to college football and college basketball. Come on back.